and this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very severe situation. I called it my flippy heart. It was doing not good things, and I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic and cayenne is a healer. It is a wonderful herb. I said, I think I'm onto something here. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
You are live.
Okay, aloha everybody, and welcome to Revolution Radio, and this is an episode of The Sacred Matrix. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Our guest today is Penny Bradley, and we are going to be talking about black goo and other things related. I want to see if Dr. Sasha, did you manage to get on?
Yes, yeah, I did. And I'm really. Can you hear us or not?
I can hear you. Yes. Okay, great.
Good. That's very good. So today, listen, Penny has been to hell, and she's come back to tell us what really is. And, when Penny talks, I shut up because this is wisdom and I don't want to interrupt it.
Oh, my.
So right before the show, Penny, I was Googling all this stuff about black goo. So let's start with, what is this? It seems to be related somehow to Prometheus. And just to let the listeners know, I could not watch Prometheus. It freaked me out too much. I couldn't finish it. Take it away, Penny. What is black goo?
I have not seen Prometheus, so I don't know what it's about. I don't really watch a lot of new movies. I've watched some older ones. Black goo is an AI. It's an artificial intelligence that is so dense that it looks like oil. Or some of the older religions described it as looking like black blood.
Apparently the creators of Prometheus, which is part of the Alien series, which goes back to the 70s, I think, Alien, they used the black goo story in Prometheus, which I think is the last in the Alien series. I don't follow. Everybody said to watch it. It was about, I guess it was tying in the Anunnaki, or they went to another planet and so they found this black goo. But it got too scary for me. I didn't finish it. I'm a coward.
Okay. I understand.
But yeah.
Did you watch the first Star Trek movie back in the day? The one where V'ger came back?
Wait, you broke up. Say that again. The one where Voyager came back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. Did you see that one?
Of course. It's class.
Do you remember the planet of machine life?
It said that, if I remember correctly, Voyager encountered a planet that altered its original programming.
Yes.
That's why it came back as V'ger.
Encountered a planet that was made up of machines, living machines.
Mm-hmm.
That is the ultimate goal of Black Goo, is to create a culture of living machines. Now, the part where when V'ger came back to Earth, it killed all the life on every planet, station, whatever it encountered along the way. That is also a habit of Black Goo, that it will destroy all organic life forms. It considers them to be a blight on the face of the planet. So we're talking about something that is hostile to humanity. That I want to make sure is clear from the get-go. Black Goo, in all its incarnations, is hostile to humanity. So, from the perspective of our own self-interest, this is an enemy object. Now, the reason that humans have been stupid enough to embrace this stuff in the past is that when you first encounter it and you're dumb enough to drink it, it will triple your IQ immediately.
Well, wait. We need to go back and maybe get a little history. So you're saying this isn't something of science fiction. This is a real substance that does exist, that humanity has encountered, and that human beings are consuming. So let's go do a little history, because we're getting ahead of ourselves. So when and how did human beings encounter Black Goo? What was going on?
There are several deposits on the face of the planet that have these black rocks that when you heat them, they let the black goo escape. Basically, the rock is saturated with black goo, and when you heat it, it comes out and forms a liquid. And I don't know how far past in our history that we first encountered it. I know one of the deposits is in Germany. The major deposit that I know of is in the Falkland Islands. Now, those of us who are old enough to remember, there have been several wars between Britain and Argentina over the Falkland Islands, and they each have a different name for them. I can't remember the Argentine name, so I'll just call it by the British name of Falklands. But the island with the deposit is named Tula, which is the name of one of the occult groups that were involved with the Germans going into space. What is that noise?
I couldn't get my headphones to work, so I think you might be picking up our stream.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a stream that runs through the yard, and it may be, and my apologies, I could not pick up. Let me see. Also turn on the fan. That might help. You got it? Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Okay. So they've been having these wars over the islands because they wanted, both countries wanted control of the black goo deposit that's there. Now, there are 2 stories out in space about the source of the black goo. One story is that it started in the constellation Lyra, in a system there that was inhabited by feline humanoids. So they were people that had evolved from large cats. And Sekhmet of Egypt is a prime example, as in the body of a near human with a tail and head that resemble a large cat. So this was the first humanish race in our galaxy to be intelligent. And they had been in a war with the Draco, or they were in a war with the Draco for millions of years. But after a while, they had hybrids because Draco are able to interbreed with humanoids as a general rule. And so they had these hybrids that were half Draco and half cat, basically. And the king of the Lyrans decided he wanted to put a stop to that, so he programmed the black goo to get rid of the hybrids. Except he didn't put the parameters tight enough. And when you look at it, eventually, to a perfectly logical machine-based mind, all life forms are hybrids. So they were eventually destroyed by their own attempts to get rid of the hybrids. And then it spread from there throughout the parts of the galaxy where it is now. How it got to Earth, I don't know. This is the biggest threat to organic life that we have in the galaxy right now. It is a major big deal. It can be destroyed by zapping the planet with a major EMP, electromagnetic pulse. But at the same time, it would destroy all of our electronics. And there's always the chance that since this deposit is underground, that it would be missed. So
here on the Earth, it's not oil. It's not plant life. It's, what is it, like nanotechnology or something? Nanobites?
They're smaller than nanotechnology, but that's the closest thing that most people would understand that's in the category. So these are like 1,000 times smaller than a nanobot. But they are so massively concentrated that the fluid still looks like oil or black blood. The Cathars. You remember the Cathars? Languedoc, France, about 1080?
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
Okay.
We remember them.
They had a document that they used in addition to the New Testament. And it described how to make a black fluid that looked like blood and would make you wise. So when I first saw that description, I thought, oh my gosh, it's talking about voodoo. Now, I ran across that because I was looking for where did the Order of the Black Sun come from. The Order of the Black Sun is the primary religious belief of the officers in the German fleet. Remember, I was in Nacht Waffen? This was our religion there. And in Shula on Mars, they just glanced across it, said Black Sun came out of the Teutonic Knights, and went on like we were supposed to understand all that. So here I am on Earth trying to hunt down the facts that I was taught in Shula because I'm writing a book about Nacht Waffen. And so I've been researching how did this pagan, occult, service to self group come out of a Roman Catholic warrior monk society. And I've pretty much traced the occult beliefs and practices to the Dragon Court of Transylvania. You remember Count Vlad Dracul?
We know Count Vlad.
Okay, they spent 70 years in Transylvania with the Dracul family. And they were in Prussia conducting a crusade against pagans at the same time of the Albigensian crusade in southern France, where the Catholics were being attacked, and some of their people escaped to parts unknown. So, I'm looking at this document that was slid to me by a friend who has access. And I'm looking at this, and I run across this part about this black blood that makes you wise, and it just clicked. That is black goo. So, how did the Cathars 1,000 years ago know about black goo? That's one of the questions that I've been researching. Now, the other storyline in space about black goo is that it started trillions of years ago in another galaxy, and that it has traveled from galaxy to galaxy and completely destroyed all organic life in every place it's been. And so we do have a galactic authority in this galaxy. It's made up of the real guardians, the real watchers, and the Council of Five. They are now hunting it. You remember where I talked about after November that a lot of the people like me were being recalled to do rescue of colonies that had been destroyed?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I was talking about that because in our SSP group on Facebook, we found there were a large number of us being sent on these missions. Well, the reason that the Guardians are pushing the Germans back into the solar system is because the officers are drinking black goo and taking this everywhere the Germans go. So
they're being seduced, but with the idea that this will make them superhuman, super intelligent. Does it give you other abilities, longevity? What all does it do for you?
It's like Freud with cocaine.
Yeah, it's like Freud with cocaine, except it triples your IQ, which puts you in the same category with the Draco. It increases your psychic abilities, which puts you in the same category with the Draco. It keeps your body healthy. It will regenerate you without having to be in the tank. So you only have to go into the regen tank if you're seriously injured. And it will make you live about 300 years all by itself. That's pretty seductive for a group of people whose thing was that they were the Ubermensch.
Well, maybe the black goo is really, they call black goo, they call oil liquid gold, so maybe that's the confusion. We're thinking that they're using gold for longevity, but the Anunnaki were using black goo. Well, I remember going underneath the earth when I was a child, and I saw these vats, huge, and then there was just sticky stuff on the floor. Now I was in my astral form, but I was still able to reach down and touch it. And I'm going, what is this? Is this blood? What is this? So maybe I was encountering black goo. That makes more sense because it was under the earth and it was in these vats. And when you Google black goo, it shows the aliens in Prometheus, which are those big, tall, strange-looking giants, plus the the sniveling alien that would consume people. And it shows them with those big containers. Now, we were thinking originally that those were eggs, but apparently with the latest episode of Alien, those are containers for this black goo. Anyway, it's interesting.
What's the downside? What's the downside of this stuff?
The what?
Is the downside of this stuff just that the machines take over? Or is there more?
There's more. You lose all of your human emotions. You lose your you know how a normal human being will care about other people? You lose that. You lose all of your heart-based functions. The only things you're left with are anger and self-interest.
Wow.
And it wires your brain to be completely logical. Remember when I talked an interview or two ago about how Star Trek was describing the different factions in space as different aliens? Remember I said that the Vulcans were the SS, Schwarze Sonne, the Black Sun. That's because they're smart, they're strong, they have no emotions, they go by pure logic. That describes people who have drank black goo.
And do they have outbursts of madness like the Vulcans did? A season of madness?
I hadn't noticed a season of madness, but I had noticed temper tantrums. Given the kinds of psychic abilities we had, if we got angry, we were basically Darth Vader. So, we did have temper tantrums, and when we did, we were impossible to stop, except by another one of us. I have had those temper tantrums when pushed hard enough. I don't have them on Earth because when they sent me back, they removed all of the goo from me. But that's why I tend to be logical, is because I spent 60 years with that in my system and then came back. So my brain was entrained to be logical.
Well, that's good that it can be removed. So there's hope. If you get infected, it can be removed.
Actually, the CIA has an antidote. And they call it white goo because it's white in the syringe. So there are ways to undo it. Now, one of the factions in space that's called Monarch Solutions, as far as I can tell, all of the people in it are either super soldiers or sex slaves or assassins. And all of them have been shot up with black goo without their consent. I will say in Nacht Waffen, if you drank the goo, it was your own choice. No one was forced to. Of course, you wouldn't go very high up in promotions unless you did, but considering none of us got to bring home the money, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I have an attitude
Did you know
about
that
it.
at the time that you can't bring home money?
I know the parts of me that I've overlapped with, I've piggybacked on them. They do not believe that Earth exists. They think that they are saving humanity, and they're not really concerned about money. They have everything that they need to live. They have food, they have shelter, they have uniforms, they have water, they have medical care. So they're not really concerned about money. So Star Trek did get that part right. And that's one of the things I would like to see is the technology that allows that to come to Earth. We have it. I mean, even Solar Warden has it. That's the Americans in space. They have the technology to...
But what is the Ferengi? What is it? Is there trade? What about the Ferengi?
The Ferengi are the bankers in space.
Ah.
Yes, Earth's bankers have their own space program. It's what Corey Goode calls ICC, but is really called planetary corporations. And that is the bankers in space. That is America's military industrial complex. They are in space. And no, their Earth level directors are generally clueless. They might have one person on their board of directors that knows about the space program. But that one person knows more than President Trump does.
Well, people have been hyping Henry Kissinger as that person. Have you heard that?
Henry Kissinger is one of the people involved. I don't think he's a boss. I think he's a gopher. But the fact that he's so important on Earth level, and I have seen him in space, tells me that he's an in-between. He knows more than the rest of us.
Thank you.
So there are a lot of
feedback.
Yeah, I noticed that. There are a lot of people who are like me and are getting more and more aware of the memories from space and are able to speak it here. We, for some reason, don't have the same vision of what was going on there. I think part of that is when they send us home, they try to confuse us. So if we do remember, that we don't remember it clearly. So I think the best approach for somebody sitting and listening to this that has no memories is to take the overall picture and not focus on the details so much. Because, okay, when I remembered Montauk, the chair that everybody talks about, I remembered it as a turquoise color. And I've seen photos and it was almond. You know, that, off-white cream color. So,
Uh-huh.
I think the best approach for somebody sitting and listening to this that has no memories is to take the overall picture and not focus on the details so much. Because, okay, when I remembered Montauk, the chair that everybody talks about, I remembered it as a turquoise color. And I've seen photos and it was almond. You know, that, off-white cream color. So the way we remember it, the details can be wrong. But look at the big picture of what we're talking about, because that we're all agreeing on. That we were kidnapped, mind fractured, put through hell, served 20 years if we were in a faction that used clones, 60 years if we were in a faction that didn't. Those are the basics that we're all agreeing on. And people are getting too tied up in nitpicky details that don't amount to anything. But it's something that their brain can latch on to so that they can say, oh, they're full of crap. This didn't exist. I don't have to do anything about it. Okay? My thing is, I want you to do something about it. I want you to contact Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and tell them to investigate the CIA for kidnapping kids. Don't mention SSP. Don't mention Black Ops. Just say investigate the CIA for kidnapping kids. All of the international child trafficking is handled through the CIA. SSP kids, like I was, are just part of it. We want all the kidnapping stopped. And Congress has the authority to do it. This is going to be crude. I don't think they have the balls to do it.
Right.
But they have the authority to.
So why do you think they don't ever address it?
They're implicated. They are implicated. They are part of a blackmail. Every person with authority, or most of them anyway, has been compromised and is under threat of blackmail or worse.
Yeah, I understand that. My understanding is that the first time you're in elected office of any level, even dog catcher, that you're invited to a celebration party. And when you go, there's every vice imaginable, and they get you good and drunk, and you go, or stoned or drugged, and you go to bed, and you wake up in the morning with either a child in your bed or the photograph of a child next to you in your bed, and from then on, they own you. Because you don't even know if you did anything or not.
They set up the blackmail, and
each step of the game, they make the blackmail a little harsher, so that by the time you're in a national office of importance, they have you so wrapped around their little finger that when they say jump, you ask how high on the way up. And those are the people that are supposed to be controlling the CIA. So, yeah, that's the way it is. It's time to clean house completely. To start over. Go back to the Constitution with the amendments we have and get rid of everything else.
So what was going on with what was his name? The guy who killed himself in prison. What was going on there? It looked like something was about to come out.
The guy who killed who?
Who?
The guy who killed himself. What was his name?
Max Spears?
Oh, Cohen, yeah.
No,
yeah,
the guy who killed himself.
Epstein?
Epstein, that was it.
Yes, and it was Epstein. I didn't know which. Epstein, yes.
Epstein was running a cult. From the appearance of the temple on his island, he was running a cult that was the Moloch of ancient Palestine, Canaan. They were worshiping a Canaanite god that involved child sacrifice. And on the island, he provided underage girls. And I'm not talking 14 and 15-year-olds. I'm talking what the rest of us call children. Some of them were not even old enough to have periods yet. And he was providing these people with whatever they wanted as far as drugs, sex, and their religious rituals. And a lot of these kids never came home. So we don't know what happened to all of them. But he kept records because he was using that to but to blackmail the people that were coming. So some of those records have been found, and the judge who was involved with sealing them and then unsealing them died. But he was in his 90s, so it could have been natural. And then we've got Epstein's supposed suicide in prison, where he was supposedly on suicide watch, but all of his guards fell asleep and the cameras stopped working. And one guard talked about people in black fatigues, no, it was green fatigues, coming in the middle of the night and taking him out and leaving a body in his place.
Right.
So the people he was blackmailing saved him to save themselves. That's the obvious thing that happened. We will never know because now he's been declared dead on the basis of the supposed look-alike body. And it simply has gone away. And they came up with all of these things to cover it up, make it where people wouldn't think about it. And one of them was, let's go attack Area 51, which is probably the stupidest, most dangerous thing that they could have come up with, because 2 million people on Facebook said they were going to do it. Well, this is the other thing.
Wasn't that just a joke?
No, it wasn't just. No, it's not just a joke. There are people I know that were planning to take part. I sincerely hope no one goes. Area 51 is a military base. If you are American, it is considered treason to attack a military base. If you are a foreigner here on a visa of any kind, even a tourist visa, it's a deportable offense. You'll be deported and never ever allowed back if they let you out of prison. This is a serious...
What date was that supposed to happen? Was
the 20th.
Here?
The 20th.
Oh, my goodness. 5 more days.
Now,
the president could even use it if it was massive enough as a pretext to declare martial law or state of emergency and cancel the election.
Yeah. Okay. A group of us from the SSP group met at Misha Johnston's place in Las Vegas last week, and we decided that we were going to go check out the gate, the one on Groom Lake Road. We did not go across the line. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. It was me and Lou, my partner, and we met up with Kevin Estrella from Pyramids on Mars and my co-admin Kale. And we went out and we went to the little alien and we looked at the pictures on the wall of all the people, the big shots that had been there. And the waiter was really shocked that I came out hand in hand with Lou, because he looks a lot older than I do. But he's not. He's like 7 years older than me. And he gave us directions that Cale decided to not follow, and we went down Groom Lake Road instead. Well, there's not a gate per se at Groom Lake Road. There's a set of pillars, and the fencing is razor wire in coils. You know the pictures that they always show of the razor wire in World War II that the guys had to crawl through? It looks like that. That's what the fence is razor wire in coils. There's no way to get through it or around it except this tiny little gate that's only big enough for one vehicle at a time. And you guys...
and I might... I might say, because of what happened in Ohio, is that there may be provocateurs, even no matter how peaceful you are, that give these guys the opportunity they want to be terrible and fire upon the crowd. It's a stupid idea, in my opinion.
Exactly. Well, we were there, and there was one white pickup on the hill with two bodies inside it. We don't know who they were, what they were, but Lou saw them through the binoculars. Well, while we were there, that pickup moved because they saw us taking pictures, so they moved so we couldn't photograph them. And the second pickup came up to join him. And across the way from the hillside with the pickups, there were 3 camera installations that were trained on us. And about 25, 30 feet inside the gate, there was this tall thing with like binoculars on the top that looked like it was some sort of a weapon. And we were goofing off, took pictures, made a video, posted it all on Facebook, along with telling people, please do not do this. And we never crossed the line, never got within 20 feet of the line. But while we were there, this guy in this little black sports car shows up, and Cale says, I bet he's a Russian. Okay, this little guy, he was just a little bit taller than Lou. You guys have seen Lou. For everybody else, that would make him about 5'8", maybe an inch or two taller than me. And blonde hair, blue eyes, his face is a little funny shaped. Cale talks to him. Yeah, I'm from Belgium, in a Russian accent. There is nothing like a Russian accent that comes from Belgium. So we were like, Cale was right. He's a Russian. And he started heading for the line. And I go, do not cross that line while we are still here. We do not wish to be shot. And I said it loud enough that the guys on the hill could hear us. I said, we are not crossing the line, and do not while we are still here. Well, I got hit by some sort of beam because as soon as I told him that, I had a massive migraine and went and sat in the car. And I ended up having tummy problems afterwards. The guys had to find a bathroom for me real fast. They were actually really kind about it. Didn't give me, you know how men on a road trip don't want to find a bathroom? They found one for me. So I must have looked desperate. But yeah, we had a couple of days with these guys, and I won't say a fun time was had by all, because I got informed that I was over everybody's depth and that they were not ready for it. But, yeah, I've learned that there are a few places where I can let down my guard, just be myself. So
your experience is a testimony, a warning to people to not expose yourself to some kind of electromagnetic or pulse that can make you very sick, or besides all the other things. Keep away from there. Find a more effective way to express yourself.
Well, we came home, Nevada Highway 95, and there's a place there that it's a tourist trappy place that they have an old time cat house that they've made up like it's an alien cat house, and they have a restaurant. And while we were there, our camera got fried. We lost everything on the chip. But we were in the restaurant eating lunch and heard one of the waitresses talking about that the military and the local sheriff had already decided that they were going to put a roadblock on Highway 95 and stop traffic for the entire day. And that they're doing a state of emergency because that's the only place to eat for miles. And they said there's no way we'd even have enough food for these people. So they're just, the local sheriff and the military are going to block traffic on Highway 95. So I thought I'd put that out there for people to know too. What they're doing.
Wow, you're going to be blocking.
Really dangerous.
You won't be able to get. Yeah, very, very dangerous. Go stand by the pipeline or something like that, where you might have an effect and not get killed.
Well, the little alien that's by the main place and the curio shop that's just up the road from it both have permits to have what they're calling, what was it they called it? Alien Woodstock. Alien stock. That's what they were calling it.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
So between the two places, they have enough room for a couple of thousand people to just party. So as far as I know, you can go there safely and have a hippie love fest and listen to music and be all stoned or whatever because pot is legal in Nevada. And, just really have a wonderful time without endangering yourself or your friends. So,
wow. Alien Gate. And the date for Alien Gate?
Is the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So, yeah, we stopped there. I bought a T-shirt. It has the Cigarette Man from X-Files on it and says, "Trust no one." Which the boys got. The boys, damn, they're the same age as my kids, so I call them boys. But they're grown-ass men in their 40s. But they thought that was hilarious. And I got a thing for the door for the outside of the front door that says Starfleet officers only admitted, which my neighbors think is weird. They already think I'm weird. So I had fun. And I got an old style hat with steampunk goggles on it, which my little brother will love because he's into steampunk. So.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, we were these 4 people going out and having fun. We found this place. Okay. Not many people know Area 54 is the tall white base. Right across the highway from it is Indian Wells. Indian Wells? Indian Springs? One of those two.
Yeah.
Indian something. It's where Charles Hall lives.
Oh, okay.
And so you go through the little town and you go out this gravel road that's mostly boulders. And after, it feels like 10 miles, but it's probably closer to 3. And it's like roller coaster. And we were in the back seat, and Cale complained about, well, we didn't go this slow last time. And I'm like, we're giving you traction, so be happy. So yeah, we were kind of friend playing. But we ended up at this place that is called the Sekhmet Temple.
Oh my God.
And that was the most wonderful, peaceful place out in the middle of absolute nowhere. And
Wow.
the guys had been there the day before we arrived. And Cale had gotten a photo of a tall white ship across the highway through his camera using a binocular to focus it better instead of zoom lens. You know, cameras have zoom lenses. So, but yeah, Cale has a photo of a tall white ship, and they fully expected there to be tall whites at the temple, and we could hear them speaking to us telepathically, but we couldn't, they didn't show up.
What are they saying?
They were talking about, wait a minute, Skype just got weird on me. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. The tall whites were talking about that they were upset that I had brought a guardian with me.
Who's the guardian?
Wow.
I'm not supposed to talk about that publicly.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Don't talk about it then.
Not on the radio. I'll talk to you personally about it, but not on the radio.
Okay, that's fine.
But I had brought a guardian with me, and they were really mad about it. And I told them, look, if you were in my position, you would have also. They said, well, you have a point there. So,
What is a guardian?
A guardian is part of the Galactic Authority, and you might think of them in terms of military police. And I have a group of them. This one is physical, yes. I have a group of them who guard me on the condition that I always speak the truth. I am not allowed to say anything that I'm not certain of or that I know to be false. So,
can you withhold stuff that you have decided you should for security reasons or to protect somebody, not to share certain things?
There are certain things I'm allowed to withhold for a time. Yes. Things to protect people's safety, things when I know a listener is not ready for it.
Uh-huh.
It's the idea of casting your pearls before swine. Not that the people are pigs, but that they're just not ready. So I give what I'm pretty sure people can handle, and sometimes a little more, but I'm not withholding the important stuff. or at least what I can see.
Yeah. I understand. The way you present things, you get, there's a logical train, and things make sense, and they all hook on to each other, and so it really helps the way you do present things strategically, so we can understand.
Well, the point is for people to understand, to know what's going on, and have enough information to be able to make a informed decision. And
hold that thought. We're at the top of the hour commercial break. We'll be back in 5.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Narco-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look! Just a flesh wound.
I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity.
I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
Come
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, that goes in eternity.
for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at revolution.radio. And I'm your host, Janet Lessin, with our co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as Amadpainter. And our guest today is Penny Bradley. And we're talking about black goo and all things paranormal and extraterrestrial, about the secret space program, and then some. But before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to that donation button on revolution.radio and make your donation this week, because we really, really need your donations. Thomas Becker and Amadpainter, do we ever get back to knowing what our donations are? Or are we stay in the dark about how much we're
No, ma'am. Hawk's still sick. He's still recuperating. It'll be a while yet before he gets back to up and running like normal.
Okay, and I just be a while. Yeah, well, we're going to send him lots of love. Any specials like that going on?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's cool. Just checking in. Alrighty, so
I will say a special thank you to anybody who donates.
Okay, you get an autographed special thank you from Amadpainter, which will be worth millions of dollars in a couple years. Don't miss that one. Okay, Sasha, are you there? Sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm here, and we're going to get back to Penny, and I asked her to consider talking about the wisdom of Native Americans, and if her partner Lou wanted to talk, that would be really cool too. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
And you know, we kind of left the black goo thing hanging. I remember years ago we had Alfred Weber, and he said that the reason why I forget the whole battle. Who launched the battle on Grenada? Anyway, I think it was the British. Went and did the Falkland Wars, and then they apparently captured some black goo That was the reason they invaded, and then they took it back to the UK, and apparently it was in some kind of underground lab, and it got loose, and it killed about 1,000 people before they got it contained. Do you remember that story? And Penny, are you familiar with that story?
I'm not familiar with that story, but it wouldn't shock me. The black goo is perfectly capable of killing to defend itself.
Yeah, so anyway.
It is life form, even if it's artificial, it is alive. And it would consider that to be self-defense.
And then there was something about black goo is in our cell phones and computers, and it's related to that element that, what was his name? The guy who wrote The Day After Roswell. Yeah, he said that it was alive and they were introducing it into our technologies. It's already taken over and we're all a bunch of cyborgs or something. Anyway, don't know the whole backstory on that was, but so it takes over, but it still allows life. So it didn't wipe out human life. You're still here. Or are you a clone or a Borg or something? You're still human, right, Penny?
As far as I know, I'm still human.
Okay.
Yeah, they removed the black goo before I was sent back, and I still have alters that have black goo, and alters.
And then the story is, so the story is that Max Spears, when he died, I actually saw a picture of this at a conference. I saw a picture. What was his name? The British guy. I mentioned him earlier today to you. He came up to me at a conference. Miles Johnson. He said, I have a picture of Max Spears, and he had just died. And somehow I got a picture, and it
was pretty bad.
That was what?
The photos I saw after he died, those were pretty bad. The black goo had abandoned his body, and there was so much of it. And he just kept throwing it up just before he died. So he was like covered in it.
And it was coming out of his forehead. He might have had a little puncture. It worked its way right out of his forehead. So that's what I saw. So I'm a witness to the picture.
Yeah. When the black goo thinks it can no longer maintain the health of the body, it will leave the body. So, yeah. It just tries to leave all at once as a unit, and if it can't, then it'll come out every opening it can find. It's pretty nasty looking. I'm sorry, the memory is just a bit much.
It's awful.
It doesn't feel so awful whenever you're living with it. But looking back on how I behaved when I was living with it, the total lack of empathy and the things that I was capable of doing because of the total lack of empathy, I am really ashamed of a lot of that. I only talk about it so people will understand what's actually going on out there. Otherwise, I would be too ashamed to even want people to know. Some of the things I've been contacted by ETs who thought they were summoning a demon. And some of the things I remember, I don't blame them for feeling that way about me.
Wow. So, in human terms, it's okay to embrace a coldly rational and a passionate emotional side, and to have both available to you, and they both have something to contribute, perhaps.
Oh yeah, you need the passionate emotional side to be human. It's part of being a human being. If you don't have that, you might as well be a robot. With the black goo, you're an organic AI, basically. But you still have a personality. With you still have intellect and memory and physical feelings, but you don't have compassion, you don't have ethics, you don't have any of the things that make a human being a human being. And
wow, you realize that on the global level, it's like humanity cuts off its feeling from Earth because of the black goo that we are addicted to, the oil, instead of leaving it in the ground. It's the same process. It's our black goo that we're killing ourselves with.
Well, a lot of humanity has completely cut itself off at the root. All they're caring about is survival from one day to the next, and how much money can they make in the meantime. And that's not a long-term proposition for survival. Not here, not in space, not anywhere. It's especially considering we have the technology to provide everything, all the survival needs of every individual on the planet. We just don't have the will, because we have this concept that you have to deserve to live, that you have to earn your survival. And having the technology give it to you for nothing as a human right is so against that concept of earning your survival. It's, well, I had to earn this, so you do too. But here we have in space, we have the free energy. We have the replicators. Excuse me. We have the technology to create whatever we want out of waste matter, whether it be food, water, clothing, even the base materials for shelter. Everything that you need to exist, we have technology to do. Think about if you didn't have to work to buy food or clothing or pay for your house. If all of that was a human right that you were entitled to. And the medical care is on the same level. The groups that use your natural body have the regen tanks from the mantids. And the groups that use cloned bodies with an altar running them use the holobeds, like Randy Kramer talks about. And between them, both technologies are fully available. Now, you're going to get a laugh out of this. The regen tanks that were in Nacht Waffen, I've talked about them a lot. Those are based on a gel that is made out of black goo. They have just treated it in such a way that it's no longer sentient. It's still programmable nanobots that can be programmed to rebuild your body based on your DNA for any age or weight that you want to set it. And you can correct genetic defects in it. The software gives you that ability. But it's built out of black goo. And so, like when I discussed this with Randy at Stargate, he was like, "That's why our people won't use it. We don't like black goo." And I'm like, okay. The Germans are not afraid of it. So
what you described is exactly what CRISPR technology is. That's what our geneticists can do. People that are, in the light even with technology called CRISPR.
Well, the trouble with CRISPR is that they don't know exactly what they're doing. And they're adding things in where they shouldn't be and snipping things off where they shouldn't be. And they don't understand how your DNA coil has a toroidal field around it. And you have to keep that field intact while you're doing this. It's much more complicated than just snipping off a couple of atoms. And this technology already has all that worked into it.
Wow.
So, CRISPR is like baby steps approaching it. And they don't have it perfected yet.
Basically, they could make everything okay, and we could be happy and healthy here.
Yeah.
But
the powers that be don't want to share the technology with the common folks.
And do you have any insight into why they're keeping that the powers that be and who the powers that be are? Because we could have a very high level, not even level 1, but level 2, 3, or 4 type civilization, which actually takes care of all our population. And then our time would be better spent doing things like solving problems and art and science and music and being creative and being co-creators with Source, instead of in the A shock or root shock or lack consciousness survival mode. And, I get exposed to these higher civilizations that operate on these levels where you've encountered them in terms of slavery and being hijacked into servitude and military service and all that stuff against your will. But I've actually been exposed to these civilizations where this is the norm. What we're doing here is not normal. So do you have any insight onto who these people are that are not allowing these technologies that exist in most places that allow civilization to progress to a much higher level? Do you have any idea who these people are and what their motivation is?
I have some ideas about who is in charge, and I don't have any evidence. It's more intuition based on who I know is running things in space compared to who's running things on Earth. And they seem to be two different groups. I do know that there are 3 species of Homo genus. Homo is a genus. You understand that from biology, right? Over the past 3 million years, there have been probably 20 species in genus Homo. And their discovery has been one of the major major things in the study of man. Okay, from what I can tell, based on my recent research and what I know about blood types, we have 3 species of genus Homo right now on the earth. And they've been interbreeding for the past 6,000 years. And those are the original species, were the sources of the 3 different blood types, O, A, and B. O comes from Anunnaki, A comes from Draco, and I don't know who is the ET behind B. But that's where humans come from. Humans are not a single species. We are 3 different species that have been interbreeding for thousands, if not millions of years. And
so are the Greys human? Or are they the B species?
Greys are the Greys that I know of are all human species from other worlds who were exposed to nuclear war on their home worlds and have somehow survived it. That's the genetic damage that's done by nuclear war. That's what turns them into that. Otherwise, they would look like us.
Right. So you're saying the Draco, and you're saying the Anunnaki is separate than human, or are they Lyran? I mean, wasn't it originally the Draco and the Lyrans for the first 2 original species? Or
what the CIA, what Swerdlow said about the Greys that were so much in our space recently is that they were on Apis, the first of the places attacked by the Dracos when they came into the Lyran group, and they went underground for a long time, and they were in space for a long time, and they created the form that they had, but they started out as Lyrans, just like all of us who are shaped like this. That's what Stewart's CIA document said.
I know that what's coming out of the CIA does not agree with what I was taught in Shula. So I don't know where they're sourcing their materials, but every ET group I've interacted with has their own version of history that writes them as the heroes. So, and they are at war with each other and paint each other as demons. This is the way that it is out there. You have to listen and correct for bias to anything you hear from any of them. They all want to be our creator, so we have to obey them. Now, the thing about humans on Earth is we have a nitrogen-based atmosphere. So most extraterrestrials cannot live here. Nitrogen is poisonous to most of them. So if they are going to live here, they have to mix their genetics with something capable of living here. So Earth humans, all versions of us, started off as Homo erectus. And Homo erectus was under 4 foot tall, had dark skin, curly hair, and brown eyes. That is the base animal they started with. And Homo erectus was not stupid. It didn't have a large brain, but even the Anunnaki descriptions of them talk about what compassion they had, that they were opening cages to let captured animals loose. So they were clever and had compassion. So the ETs that I've dealt with generally lack compassion. So I'm looking at, we got that from that earth animal, that Homo erectus. That's where we got compassion, is from that. So anything past Homo erectus is because of ET interference. We have no idea what Homo erectus would have evolved into, because there have
Penny, what Anki said is that he was telepathic too. That the Anunnaki observed Homo erectus communicated telepathically with his fellows.
Yeah. My impression, being telepathic myself, is that most earth animals above the level of guinea pigs or so are all telepathic with each other. It's not a verbal telepathy, it's a visual telepathy. They are sharing pictures with each other. And I've had cats share pictures with me to ask questions. There was one cat that I had that she would not let me touch her babies. And I made the link and asked her why not. And she showed me that the litter before, that I had taken her babies and given them away. So I showed her mind pictures of where her babies went, that they went to good homes. And they grew up, they were fine. And that litter, I let her keep them. All of them. And when they were about 3 months old and bullying her, she asked me to take them and give them away. And I said, no, you wanted them, you're stuck with them. So that's the kind of relationship I have with my animals. But I think they're all telepathic. Humans.
I know that's very true, because we had the same thing happen. We had Lamora, and she came to us, and we said, okay, we won't take your babies. But at one point she came up and said, please, get rid of them. I want to be your cat, and I don't want all these other cats around.
Yeah, exactly.
They do. They communicate.
The other Captain Mark Richards reported that he was on this mission, and a great cat, came to him and said, "Turn around, go back. You've got to save your buddies." And she made all these predictions about Earth and what was going to happen here, and it's quite amazing. And this is all from Mark Richards, who was in our secret space program and is in jail now on trumped-up charges.
A lot of the echo again. I have to sit back. Yeah, it's getting interesting. I'm hearing a lot of weird noises. I hope that the audio ends up usable. But they took this animal, this Homo erectus animal, that they were in basically the category of chimpanzees, and they used that to create us. And we were not the first step in the thing. There, like I said, there have been at least 20 versions of genus Homo, but we have the 3 versions living together now. And from what I can tell, there has been an attempt for the past 2,000 years to get rid of all of the Rh negatives. And especially the O negatives. That has been an ongoing attempt by the groups affiliated with the Vatican. And there are various reasons put forward for it, and I'll be discussing some of them in my book. Gee, that sounds like such a cop-out. I'm not trying to sell the book. What I'm trying to do is, in the book, I have it set out in a logical step-by-step way that will take way more than the time we have left to explain it. But when I started getting information from the Dragon Court of Transylvania and from the Cathari, things from my own studies and from Shula on Mars popped in together, and this came together. All the pieces finally came together to explain what was going on. And I still don't know exactly who is at the top running everything on Earth. The feeling I have is that there are competing factions locked in a war, and that we at the bottom are just looking up and not understanding what's happening. And so we take people we can see that appear to have power and blame them for everything. But my feeling is that if you know who they are, that they're just a gopher.
Do you think that they are beyond the Anunnaki? Because we have the Anunnaki story, which ended less than a year ago for them. It's going on 2,000 years or whatever. I don't know how many years have passed since they quote unquote left, but they didn't really leave. They went behind the scenes. So, it's not even a year yet for them.
Yeah, so it's not even a year.
The last ones in major power. And so are you thinking that they are no longer in power and that they're, been usurped by somebody, or it's still the Anunnaki? And I have another question. Did you watch this documentary recently called The Family, which was on Netflix? And I highly recommend it. And it gives some back information.
I have not watched that, no. My feel is that the Anunnaki basically abandoned us to Marduk, and that he has been mostly involved with trying to reclaim his throne on the homeworld, and that the Greys have taken over in the vacuum. And there was at least one Draco who was an adrenochrome addict who had enthralled a lot of the elites into supplying him with adrenochrome in exchange for the desires of their hearts. And I have it on good authority that he's no longer on Earth. He's no longer involved in the situation. And so we've got at least 3 ET races. That would be the Draco, the Greys, and the Anunnaki. And the tall whites are the lower classes of the Anunnaki. So that eliminates one of the players, combines 2 of the players into one. And then there are others. There are the Tau Ceti, who look a lot like the people of Eastern Europe, the ones with dark hair. There are the ones that look like Asians but are 8 feet tall, and I don't know what their name is. I don't know what they call themselves. I've seen them, but I don't know what their name is. And there are others in various spots all over the planet that have their fingers in the pie. I know that altogether there are 25 races who tell the Germans in space that they are our creators. And the Germans just tell them, well, you should have done a better job. And I've kind of got that attitude with them too, is you should have done a better job and then we'd think about worshiping you. But, you know, you've been terrible parents and we're not going to do what you want. So I, for one, have been trying to figure out what's in the best interest of the working classes of the world. You know, the folks that make things run, rather than the people on the top being parasites.
Sasha, what do you think about who's left in charge?
In a very funny way, rather than it being an external other, I think there's fractals of ourselves that are allowing this separation with the rest of humanity, and that we can reach a heart space with the planet and with everybody. And I know that if I can look in people's eyes and open my chakras to them, that we can see that, admire each other and relax a bit and synergize. That's my opinion. I know I'm a minority of one.
Well, I've had a lot of problems for the last decade or so with when I make contact through the eyes with people that I have trouble getting them back out of my head, and they are not always people that I want to stay there. I worked hard to become my own sovereign being, and I really don't want to just open myself up and let anything that's out there in. It's not that they're evil. Yeah, it's just it took so long to get out from under the programming to be me that I'd like to stay me for a while.
Absolutely. I understand totally. And that's the whole thing. You can know how to maintain your boundary now. And that's fine. That's not, but I'm saying that inside, if you meet someone that's extremely strange to you, instead of backing away in total fear or whatever, admire what they're presenting and excuse yourself if that's what you need to do and go away. But that's a good start, I think, is to at least admire what they're presenting, whatever it is.
Sometimes there's a lot of folks out there that are just not any way I present it, it's going to sound elitist. And I don't mean it that way. I mean it boundaries, standards.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And not that I'm better, but that there are things I just don't want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with people taking advantage of the ignorance of others. I don't want to deal with people who are abusing whatever authority that they have. You know, I don't want to deal with people who are predatory.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and choosing not to deal. That's wonderful. That's the base. It's called nullity, basically. Choosing not to deal with, withdrawing from institutions and people that bring you down, that bring the planet down. I got it.
Yeah. It's not an elitist thing, and it's certainly not based on their social standing, but more on their behavior. If they're a sociopath or a predator that that takes advantage of others, I really don't want to have anything to do with them. Mm-hmm. And if I see them taking advantage of people I care about, I will intervene. And I guess that's part of who I am. It's a lot better than being what I was in space.
Yeah.
Because in space, I was one of those predators.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they irritate me so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
But you
work with all these people that are in these programs, and you're really on top of what's going on. What are you uncovering with your research? You're writing a book. You're going to bring a lot of things to the table without giving it all away. What's happening? What are you uncovering?
What I've uncovered is the biggest thing that I've uncovered doing the research is that there are 3 species of genus Homo on Earth, and that 2 of them are working to kill off the third. And that is the underlying problem between the last 2,000 years of our history.
Well, that seems to be a critical piece of information to get who the third is. We know who the third is.
We know who the third is. The one that they're trying to kill off are the Anunnaki hybrids. That's who they're trying. That's who they're trying to kill off, is the Anunnaki hybrids, because they have
that metagene. In another show, they have the metagene.
They have a higher metagene than the rest of the genus Homo, and they are who has been targeted for the last 2,000 years, and it's partially because of the metagene, and partially because they're smarter and don't fall for the brainwashing. And the groups that are trying to get rid of them are infighting over who's going to be boss when they're gone. That's the biggest.
So would the third maybe be the black goo? And it's mutated to mimic. Okay.
No.
So what role does the black goo play in this drama?
They are the chaos factor.
So they're a 4th element then. So there's 4 factions.
Actually, what we've got is this beautiful blue water world sitting in the middle of space, announcing that it's a beautiful blue water world teeming with life. And there are tons of ET races who don't think we're taking care of it and don't deserve it. And they're just waiting for the opportunity to come take it from us. And that's what I've been seeing in space. So any time that you start inviting in a lot of ET elements, I'm going, wait a minute. You don't know what their agenda is, and you better find out before you say, welcome, Space Brothers. And
what about the Wolfen faction?
The what faction?
Are they the wolf? There's like a species that I've heard of that is so violent that all they want to do is eradicate all life. And they said it kind of looks like a wolf. So we have the cat people and the dog people, but they're more like a wolf. They're very violent, and I think the Klingons were modeled after them.
The Klingons were modeled after the Draco, including that the Draco honor and loyalty matters above everything. If you have no honor, you might as well kill yourself. That's how the Draco actually live. And they consider that humanity has no honor because we do not honor our treaties. Not with them, not with each other.
Right. Well, it sounds like an interesting dilemma.
Yeah, well, there's
so
a lot
what can we do?
What we can do is start caring about each other, even if you think the person doesn't deserve it. Start caring about the working class instead of the business owners. I know a lot of the smaller business owners are working class, so I'm not saying pick on them. I'm talking about the people with billions of dollars that they will never spend legitimately in their entire lives, nor will their children or grandchildren.
Yeah, they're basically hoarding, and they keep all that out of circulation, and that's what creates artificial shortages of lack consciousness. If everything was flowing that existed, we wouldn't have poverty, we wouldn't have starvation, we wouldn't even have war, because needs would be met.
95% of the planet belongs to 6 people. To me, that says it all. That says it all. That's wrong. We need to, as a planet, make things more equal. I know they won't stay that way because the predators will still be predators, and that seems to be human nature. But we need to put something into effect where that things are more equal, and you are not working your entire life just to have the things that we have technology to provide for free.
Right.
That is, number one, that is what we call a galactic level 0 civilization. That is the base from where you operate. And until we reach that base, we will never have a voting seat at the table, not the tables that matter. So the first thing we have to do is start caring about each other. Now, you were mentioning the Native American people before, just after the break. The Native American people were tribal. Now, some of the tribes were matriarchies and some were patriarchies. But when push came to shove, every individual member was taken care of. They had food, shelter, water, their share of the resources. And if they became a problem, usually it was the grandmothers of the tribe who voted on whether to boot them or not, because booting them out meant that they would die. They couldn't take care of themselves alone because everything was set up tribally. They didn't even know how to exist by themselves. So if they were selfish, if they were bullies, if they were aggressive, if they hoarded, they would be booted after given a couple of chances to straighten up. Now, there were issues with the Native American way, as in, if you didn't fit into a slot, you were considered to be a problem. So if you had someone who was a genius in something, they wouldn't necessarily be allowed to do it. So there's good and bad to this. But the basic concept was everyone worked together, everyone had what they needed, and it was basically held in common. Not exactly like communism as we know it, but more like communism, like the hippies were doing. Now, even in the hippies, there were issues with certain individuals becoming the bully of the group. And that's been a common problem through human history, is that whoever is the biggest bully tends to become the boss. And so that's a force we will have to work against in the future if we want to stay a level 0 civilization. If we want to achieve that, we have to stop following the biggest bully. We have to start thinking about what everyone else needs, not just what me and mine need. And it's a totally different mindset from what the average person on the street has. And so they listen to me and they think, oh, she's a communist.
Well, labels are just ways to invalidate someone. There's systems that are better than what we have. Definitely none of these systems of governance we have really work because there's people starving and they're not getting their needs met. So we need to think outside of the human box and perhaps look into extraterrestrial societies and see how can we improve our governance system so that people are not starving and, we're not destroying the planet. Resources belong to the world. There needs to be a distribution system somehow to get it out, or we should at least be merciful enough to not breed and have endless amount of people that are going to starve, right? It doesn't make sense.
There's plenty of food, there's plenty of water, there's plenty of space for everyone that's here now, for even 3 times as many as there are now. All of the humans on Earth could fit into the state of Alaska. All of that is just stuff that the elite have told us so that we won't breed. Because after a certain point, we stop being a resource and start becoming a problem to them. Now,
are they using us as a product that they export for slavery, for food, for sex slaves and work slaves and
yes.
Soldiers and stuff? So we're still useful. They told us, go be fruitful and multiply, but I think they didn't mean to be like a petri dish where we consume it. But there must be somehow that this is working for them, because if they didn't want us to breed, we wouldn't be breeding. They could very easily just sterilize us all, putting something in our water. So they want us to breed. So go logically. Well,
they are putting things in our water. They are putting things in our water. Haven't you wondered why?
We're still not sterile though. We're still breeding. They don't want us to live as long, so they're poisoning us, and our life expectancy has gone down now. But they still want us to reproduce, to have the young ones that are more easily controlled.
They want us to have 1 child per couple. They want to cut the population in half. They want a lot of people to not breed at all. That's why there's so many chemicals that are confusing people's gender hormones. And I'm going to catch slack for that, but there have been studies that have shown that the chemicals that they're using to coat food cans are causing gender hormone issues. The plastics that they make baby bottles out of cause gender hormone issues. So it's not like it's only the people that don't trust the system that are safe from this. The people who are breastfeeding, the people who are having their babies at home, the people who are filtering or distilling their water so that all that crap is gone. These are the people that are going to be safe, and everybody else is going to end up with serious issues. And
I still, as a therapist, I'm a counselor, there are lots of gay, trans, bi, and, lesbian that have children, that have parented, that have given birth or fathered children. So even though the gender confusion, they're still creating babies. I can't tell you how many gay, lesbian, bi, and trans people I know that are biological parents.
I know they're still having biological children. A lot more of them are adopting.
Or what they do is get someone to artificially inseminate them. Oh, let's see the end of our show. Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you.
Lovely hearing from you.
Thank you, Amadpainter. Lessin, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll have you again.
Definitely.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
On the go? Still want to listen? Don't have one of those fancy phones with too many buttons. Don't know what an app is? Or you don't even care? Well, we got you here at Revolution Radio. Now you can dial in 24/7 to listen to our shows. We have a number for Studio A and Studio B, and best of all, it's free. Don't forget, your carrier charges for your cell phone provider may apply though, so check with your cell provider to make sure. So ready? Here you go. Get a pen. Here's the number. Studio A is 712-432-6958, and Studio B is 716-748-0112. Thank you very much for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station in the world.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we will take you down the supernatural path. From ET contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter.